Hi, everyone. My name is Thiago Maceira from Itaú BBA, and we have today one or more event of the Visions of Leaders series. Today, we have the privilege of having Eric Yuan, the founder and CEO of Zoom. So he's by definition the one allowing us to have this conversation today. Before starting, and I would like to thank you a lot for Webcia, who is a partner of Zoom in Brazil and Latin America, who helped us organizing this event. Eric, thank you so much for being with us and talking to the Brazilian audience.
Hey, Tiago, thank you so much for the invitation. My pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Eric, just so we can get started on the conversation, I think one of the remarkable things that Zoom has done is to grow so fast in such a short time frame. Even before the COVID, the growth trajectory was very, very impressive. The IPO was a tremendous success. Can you talk a little bit about how you plan for the scalability and how you, as a manager, focus resources and time in order to allow you to achieve such a high growth in such a short time frame?
Yeah, well, that's a great question about scalability, because when you build software as a service company, and ideally on day one, you need to consider the scalability, because I was a part of the WebEx founding team, and I learned a hard lesson. If your architecture is not right, and if you try to scale your business or service in the future, you need to rewrite a lot of code. So on day one, before we rolled out our first beta product, we already decided to make sure and our backend architecture and also all the layers should be scalable. That's the reason why when something like this pandemic crisis, we do not need to rewrite any code, and we just add more servers. It can scale up very quickly without causing any issues.
Hi, Eric. This is Julia from Itaú. First of all, I would also like to thank you for being here with us today. So my question is on scalability and coupled with competition. I guess you guys were founded in 2011, but you launched your software in 2012. I was reading somewhere that in the beginning, it was harder to raise money because investors thought that the landscape was already full with these devices, right, and these services. But now we fast track and we are in 2020, and you guys are one of the main companies providing and enabling everything that we are doing now. So we're now seeing all of these other players that are big players, but not specific for the webinar capabilities, trying to develop these strategies. So I know that you guys are integrated with Slack and with a couple of other resources, but how do you see the competition now getting more fierce, and how are you acting upon it? And I guess as a follow-up question, how do you see the discussion of being a generalist in the sense of doing email, video, and calendar and everything versus being a specialist like you guys are today?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to competition, I think the way for me to look at what's going on is don't always look at the competitors. Really think about everything from end user, from customer perspective. Back to 2011, when I tried to start a company, guess what? You are so right. Nobody wanted to invest because you look at the competitors. Oh my God, they're so big, incumbents, and they already have a product out there. How can you compete? And if I, focus on competitors, I even do not dare to start a company. But I spend a lot of time on talking with many users, no matter which solution they were using before, and always ask the question, do you like that service? How do you like? And nobody told me that they like any services they were using before. Then I thought the opportunity, I would say, yeah, if I can build something better than any of the existing solutions out there, I might have a chance to survive. Similar to you are going to start a restaurant business, right? If you have a good food and a very good price, and the service is very good. No matter how crowded that market it is, you still can have a chance to survive, right? So that's the reason why I dare to start a company. Even today, we spend all the time on talking with customers, really understand their pinpoint. And also we are going to go back, work as hard as we can, probably harder than any of our competitors. Guess what? We wanted to be the first winner to come up with a solution ahead of any of our competitors. If every time we do that, I think we have a chance, right? So that's the way for us to look at how to compete against the competitors. When it comes to the solution, either the deep dive in the video collaboration or build all the collaboration service suite. I think our strategy is we look again. We back to the customer. They all told us, video conferencing is going to become mainstream service. Video is a new voice. A lot of things are not done yet. I think that's why we would like to laser focus on video collaboration. Many features will be added, a lot of experience, and will be improved as well. Like the first time I see you and Diego, right? And I want to shake hands with you, but you cannot feel my hand shaking, right? Those cool features will be added in the future, like a real-time language translation, right? And no matter where you are, no matter what kind of device you use, two people in the world and join the Zoom call, speak a totally different language with AI, with real-time language translation, they can understand each other. All those cool features will be added. That's why we want to laser focus on video collaboration.
Great, Eric. Thanks for your participating today. It's great to have you here. I think taking advantage of a question that you did, mentioning about exponential growth. If you look the first quarter ending on April, the company's revenue increased by almost 170%. The numbers were way above market expectations. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, was the largest beat seen in the software industry for the last 20 years. I mean, as the pandemic eases and we go to what we are calling today the new normal, do you expect growth to slow down, or do you think that there is still a lot of room to grow looking ahead, thinking about the platform despite the virus?
Yeah, so when we started the business, our headquarters is based in San Jose, California here. And for the first several years, and we laser focus on North America business. I think more than 80% of our revenue came from North America, the customers. And over the past probably 2.5 years, we started to expand into the international market. And Brazil, Japan, Europe, and we also established a team. And I think the huge opportunity, outside of North American market. That's what we saw over the past several years. And this pandemic crisis essentially accelerated our international expansion. Because take any country, like take India or Japan, for example. Prior to pandemic crisis, we have very healthy usage. But this pandemic crisis, wow, the usage is just crazy. And because there's a real demand. But after the pandemic crisis, I'm pretty sure actually, in terms of usage, probably, will decline. But there's a huge opportunity ahead of us. The reason why is almost every business, you realize the potential of video collaboration, because this kind of tools can support their employees working from home or working anywhere. Right? This is the new trend. And previously, I guess nobody thought about that. You can send all the employees back to home to work. But now everyone, already are going through the stress test. It works. So that's why I think the video collaboration service like Zoom will become a mainstream service.
Very interesting that you say that, because I have a 7-year-old daughter, And now everything we need to do, she says, oh, let's just Zoom with daddy or with grandpa. So it's really becoming a day-to-day tool for everyone, Eric. My daughter knows to operate Zoom better than I know. So I think that's a sign. But I think given the growing, I'll say, publicity that the company has, and given the growing usage that the company has achieved, this also brings a lot of concerns regarding privacy. You've been talking about this. I think exponential growth and of course the flow and the importance that you gain in the industry created a lot of attention and focus from the wrong people as well. So can you talk a little bit about how you see, of course, the threats that you see on the security side, but also how the team and platform that you put together is tackling this, and how this is a constant for every software company, in particular for your case?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, before that, I'd like to take a step back to share with you how we started. Zoom was started to serve business and a lot of enterprise customer. Security is and scalability very important. On day one, we know that. That's why over the past several years, we added so many, a lot of security features built into our service. But the way it works is normally we work together with a lot of enterprise IT team or CIO or head of IT, and to look at all those security configurations and enable some features, disable some security features, and then we have an official onboarding process, and train the prospect, and then they started using Zoom. All the security features already enabled or disabled. Over the past several years, that's the way we were doing business with our customers. However, this pandemic crisis totally changed our user or installed base. There's so many first-time users. And plus, we also offer the free service to more than 100,000 K-12 schools and around 25 countries. Brazil is part of that as well. And however, those first-time users or first-time see like a K-12 schools, they may not have IT team. And looking back, we should have done a better job, meaning not only do we offer the service to them, but also Zoom should play a role of IT. We should pre-enable some of the security features. That's why, for the first several days after realize that, we quickly fix that and enable the meeting password, enforce that, enable the waiting room, and also disable the screen sharing, won't give that host. Because we have a lot of security features. And that's why we have a confidence, we can fix that problem. So also, because this service was built for serving the large enterprise customers, I give one example. Those features might have a conflict with the first-time users. Like we have a feature for the training department, like the feature called attention tracking indicator. So meaning, Diego, you have a training class and join. I thought I already understand this. I'm multitasking. I check my email. You will see that you have an indication Eric is multitasking, something like that. I think that's a pretty good feature for training use case. But from any user perspective, that's a privacy violation. So we needed to, disable that feature for everyone. That's why over the past several months, we were freezing all the features. We double down, triple down, look at every use case, make sure those not only for our existing large enterprise customers, but also can serve first-time consumers well. We have very high confidence about the foundation. And that's why I think, we did win the trust. More and more users realize, there's even some mistakes, but they know Zoom has a great intention, to keep improving and to serve the world with a much better, service. It's more secure and the frictionless collaboration service.
So I guess also as a follow-up to Thiago's question, which ties in, Eric, with our first question on scalability and exponential growth. So I guess that the security breaches, it was something that at first caught you guys by surprise, essentially due to the fact that you guys were focused on B2B and corporate clients. So you were taking for granted that these guys would have a strong IT, right? So I was reading an interview with you. I don't remember now if it was the Financial Times, but you say that you actually made a mistake of growing too fast, and you had to take a step back. So I think that this posture was really interesting for a founder to understand. Wait, we went too fast. So, and then you implemented the 90-day plan and all of the changes in the team just to focus on the security issues. So I guess my question is, what were the key lessons that you learned from what happened, right, with the security? And how is the 90-day plan going? Is it still going on? I don't know if I lost track of time.
So, for the start of a company, speed is everything, right? Previously, I always talk about speed, right? At Zoom, as long as we have a good intention, we try to, get something done quickly. It works, it's perfect. If it does not work, we quickly fix that problem because we move forward very quickly. Speed is everything. I remember, and before all the schools, before they shut down, and Friday, we heard about a lot of K-12 schools that can shut down that weekend. And we decided, okay, we never sold for K-12 schools before, right? We focus on either high ed or enterprise customers. We quickly decided, okay, why not give the service to K-12 schools as well? And over the weekend, we just add all the capacity. So excited, we made a very quick decision. And of course, the first several days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, wow, so excited. Guess what? And Thursday, Friday, we see some people are so excited. They shared the gallery view of Zoom with meeting IDs there, no password in the social media, right? And then it caused a problem. But looking back, when we decided to offer free service, to K-12 schools, we should ask about these questions. Did we enable all those security features for them? Or did we train them? Or did we do enough? That's the first lesson we learned is, even if you have a good intention, even if you do not have a speed problem, you better think one more time before you make a decision, because the company is different size now. For the small startup company, you can do that. But given our size, given the brand, you cannot do that anymore. You got to change, your process, your philosophy, and some best practice might work before, may not work now, right? So that's the first lesson learned. The second lesson learned is, especially over the past several months, if you build a great culture, and even if you are facing some of the issues like this, you can survive well, because your employees, they work so hard, they keep everything open and transparent, they share with the customer what had happened. I think that's why, I did not receive a single complaint from our employees. We all work very, very hard. We would like to leverage this opportunity to transform our business, to grow our business to the next level. So that's the second lesson learned, to focus on company culture. And no matter what's going on, your company will can still do well in the long run.
Very interesting, Eric. A question that I have, you mentioned a little bit about, I think, distance learning, and we see that the coronavirus is accelerating, the end of the day, the home office trend. And there are people that say that the real estate market will be never the same after the experience that we had and that we are having today with home office during the lockdown. Do you believe that Zoom, could disrupt the real estate market? How do you see this home office trend evolving after the coronavirus?
Yeah, it's hard to say, because first of all, prior to this pandemic crisis, again, almost every business still have a physical office. I think, even after this, I'm not saying everyone will go back to home work. It's very likely there will be a hybrid working model. So meaning, see, like maybe twice a day, you send all your employees back to home to work, but you still need to have a physical office because you already have an office, right? But if I started a company today, I do not need to have a single physical office. Every employee can work anywhere, in the world and remotely. And some Silicon Valley companies like Envision, GitLab, or Zapier, they are doing very well. They do not have a single physical office. Having said that, I think in terms of a percentage of employees who are going to work in the office, I think that a percentage will decline. But that's, however, in terms of what's going on in the physical business office space, I think I do not know, but I feel like more and more people will work remotely for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because you also impact the residential market as well, not only offices, because now people, they don't need to stay that close to the office. I mean, especially in cities like São Paulo, I mean, big cities where you have a lot of traffic. So it is interesting that it's not only the home office trend, but you could also impact the real estate market looking at the residential segment as well.
Exactly. Like, hey, if you headquarter in Brazil, you can hire employees all over the world. I can work for you. Actually, I can live in Silicon Valley, right? It's still okay. So
it's a very interesting point how the transformation and how this can transform a lot of industries. But going back to the Zoom platform, Eric, how do you see the next place you're gonna be? People talk about virtual reality. People talk about other applications within the communication space. When you think about the future in terms of verticals and even in terms of applications, where do you see the growth can come from Zoom? You spoke a little bit about some of the features you can add and some of the experience for the final customers, but in terms of new verticals, where do you see the trend coming? We're trying, both Rico and I, we're trying to anticipate and see if we can make some money out of it.
yeah, if you look at the vertical use cases like online education, for sure that is going to become a mainstream use case, and plus telemedicine, telehealth, doctor and a patient, and remotely, I think that's another key use case as well. So I think there will have so many brand new use cases, right? And also, just from a feature perspective, we are far away from serving the world and with a greater service, meaning our vision is to deliver our service even better than face-to-face meeting. We are not there yet. That's why I mentioned like, hey, real-time language translation, remote handshaking. I give you a hug remotely. You are going to feel my intimacy as well. And even like, say you and I, we stop by in Starbucks and we drink a coffee and we can enjoy the smell. For now, we cannot have that experience. In the future, say you are at home, one click, and when you are drinking the coffee, we can digitize the smell. And here I can enjoy the smell as well. I think all cool features will be added into the service in the next maybe 10 to 15 years with AR devices. I think ultimately the video conference like Zoom can deliver a better experience than face-to-face meeting. Any features that can help realize our vision and to achieve that goal, I think will be added. I'm not saying all those features will be built by ourselves. We will partner with a lot of other companies. Maybe some features will be done by some other competitors. But overall, you look at the industry, more and more use cases and more cool features will be added, and to help the video collaboration to deliver a better experience than face-to-face physical meetings.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, you mentioned the education segment. This is a place where everyone is talking about the transformation or the lack of transformation. When you envision the transformation in such a specific industry, we know a lot of players who are actually trying from the education standpoint to create some digital experience. Do you see Zoom going for that in terms of partnerships, or trying to develop their own platform, or increasing the use cases for the typical, I would say, education companies?
Yeah, great question. So, the potential of market is huge. And I do not think that it makes sense for Zoom to develop everything. That's why we built our platform. We announced the Zoom Marketplace, and I think 2 years now. And we give our third-party customers or partners, give them an opportunity to build all kinds of applications upon our platform. And it also can publish those integrations or applications upon our marketplace. We already have several hundreds of third-party applications. I think that's the future. and to have a platform strategy.
Eric, so we were talking about long-term plans, right? And you guys recently acquired a company that's on end-to-end encryption, I guess. So now in this past May, looking ahead, would you what's your long-term goal? Because now you are in the entire world and the number of users is growing exponentially all the time. But for example, your first client was Stanford University. So you started actually where you are based, and now you're expanding through the entire geography of the planet. So I guess looking ahead, do you see yourself growing through M&As? Or you mentioned that your platform is open and then that developers can put open APIs and connect directly. So, or through connections of these parties, or how do you see yourself in 10 to 15 years in regards to everything that's happening right now? Did you imagine that this would happen to your company?
Yeah, again, I think, it boils down to the one thing, we got to stay close with our users and customers. Like this, today I joined this video webinar. The reason why, so first of all, I like Brazil. And the second thing is, I want to get more.
Your background is amazing, by the way. You can stick with that background forever. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, second reason is that, I wanted to learn more, from users, from all other entrepreneurs, startup founders in Brazil. And because, if you wanted to say, I want to focus on Brazil market, if I do not spend time on talking with them, I may not know which use cases is going to be successful and what kind of features they are thinking about, right? So if we stay close with our customers, then we understand where the demand comes from. And then we are going to decide, wow, this demand is real and probably we need that in the next 2 to 3 months. We really cannot build that. What can we do? Then we can look at acquisition target, or maybe partner with others. Or maybe some users told us, hey, that's a very, very important features. We think it might become a mainstream service feature, maybe next 18 to 12 months. And then we can build by ourselves. So that's why we got to start everything from end user perspective. And then we are going to take a step back to understand, what's our strategy. Take this Keybase acquisition. That was our first acquisition. The reason is, look at the video conferencing industry. And, we use the AES now 256 GCM for encryption. But also, I do not think any other, bigger competitors, they offer the true end-to-end encryption either. But based on demand, the customer told us, especially, for the very, very extremely sensitive meeting, they might need this feature. They might need to have this advanced option. Then we look at, where we are now. I think ideally, let's acquire a company because we needed that in the next several months. That team is very, very good. And that's why I decided to acquire. So, that's why, listen to our customers and then you decide either organic growth or acquire a company or maybe partner with some others.
Great, Eric. Very interesting. I think a follow-up question to the one that Julia just asked. I think looking the company's strategy today, I think Zoom remains focused on corporate customers, right? I think you see any upside potential coming from the individuals? I think a lot of individuals tested your platform right now. I mean, with the free option, do you see the company grabbing these individuals ahead? You have this intention, and how would be the strategy to grab a share here from individuals and not only from corporate customers?
Yeah, so I think video is a new voice, and video conferencing will become a mainstream service. And the boundary between the way you are using Zoom in the office and the way you are using in the car or at home, it's not very that the clear anymore. So essentially, it's more like the phone service today, right? You see the phone service can be used by anyone, right? That's why I think we have so many free users or online buyers. We are going to continue to service them well. Having said that, one thing I know for sure, we are not going to sell advertisement to any of our users. We never wanted to do that, right? So that's not our business model. but how to serve those users better. And also that's why we also, would like to work together with our customers or partners, how to offer all kinds of other specific features, for those end users. Like I give you one example. Recently, a lot of people talk about that, they use Zoom for online wedding ceremony, right? See, I join your online wedding ceremony. I think this is great. A lot of people ask about me, Eric, can you add a feature? I can send gifts to my friends. The online gift, giving, right? Something like this. Those features are very useful, right? For those use cases. And, probably, we should think about adding those features.
Interesting that you say that, Eric. I would like to go a little bit off the Zoom specifically, but the digitalization trend that you're actually accelerating. You were talking about the end consumer and what's happening. As you know, Brazil is being through a very strong cycle of digitalization. I think the last 3 years we've seen the creation of several unicorns. How do you see having the opportunity of seeing the impact of Zoom and the digitalization on several countries and regions? How do you see this digitalization trend? You made a lot of comments here and several anecdotes, but how do you see this is going to take us in terms of next level? Where do you see the areas where the impact has been bigger? If you can talk about a little bit more broader on the digitalization trend, because this is something very, very up to date for Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil, look at the Brazil economy, it's growing very well and will continue doing very well. And that's why, look at the big picture and look at the consumer world or the enterprise business world. You look at the business world, right? I think every, business, they got to look at how to enable their, the employees to work anywhere. That's a part of the digital transformation. If you still deploy on-prem and services, right? When you work from home, it's hard, right? You really cannot access those services, right? How to embrace the cloud, how to make sure focus on the digital transformation to allow their employees still can get the job done no matter where they are. Right? This is a part of business digital transformation. And you look at the consumer world, and look at a lot of startup ecosystem is very healthy in Brazil. Right? So many consumer use cases, like several years ago, you see the Uber, right? It's a shared economy, and all those kind of brand new use cases driven by the young generation, driven by the shared economy, a lot of ideas, and also I think a lot of startup founders can target those use cases as well. Essentially driven from consumer world and also driven from the existing business world as well. I think together those can really I think fundamentally change the way we work, live, and play.
Great, Eric. We are receiving a couple of questions through our LinkedIn, people that are seeing the Zoom through there, and I would like to give some minutes to ask you their questions. So to start off, and I think it's also related to what Thiago asked about digitalization. A couple of weeks ago, we did a webinar with Chris Ye on blitzscaling. So, and we had a lot of questions on examples of company who blitzscaled, what are the challenges? And we received here in our page a question related to that. So he asked you to comment on the main challenges of managing a blitzscaling company. So I guess the first question is, do you consider Zoom to be a company that blitzscaled? And the follow-up would be the main challenges.
Yeah, I think those two, I think are probably same questions. Essentially, it boils down to one thing: what's your company culture? How can you evolve your company culture? So the company culture is extremely important, in particular for startup companies. So over the past several years, I think that's probably the number one thing that might keep me up in the night, because our company, the culture is about delivering happiness. For me as a CEO, my number one job is to make sure our employees happy, make sure our customers happy. And when we were very small, only several hundreds employees, It's not very hard because I know almost everyone, right? We talk about that every day. But now we have, worldwide more than 3,000 employees. How to maintain that culture? How to evolve that culture? That's a big challenge, and we got to talk about it every day. We got to focus on that every day, and we got to be very paranoid. I think that's something we need to keep working on.
Just to follow up on that before you go, Enrico, one of the questions I get very often from the entrepreneurs in Brazil as they start to expand initially regionally to Latin America, one of the main challenges that you briefly talked about is the talent acquisition, how you fit into the culture, into the strategy. Can you share with us, like, you've been growing so fast and bringing people to every country so fast, how do you work to make sure that you are getting the right people or the best aligned people to your culture and to your strategy, given that you cannot be in person with them? I'm sure you do Zoom interviews, but I'd love to see what is the overall strategy with that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So normally, see, before we decide to enter into any market, we would like to see the organic growth first. Take Japan or Brazil, for example. We do see a lot of users, coming from Brazil or Japan. We see, yes, even before have a presence, before have a team, we ought to have organic growth. Then why not double down on that? That's why we decided to have a team. When we try to hire a team, our philosophy is always to hire those employees with a self-learning capability and self-motivation mentality. And we really do not look at, hey, which company they worked for before, what's their experience, and so on and so forth. If they wanted to learn, if they motivate themselves, I think they can fit very well to our company culture. And given some time, they can learn what's going on, either on our product side, on the headquarter culture, or on the customer side. And also, for sure, you start from the ground up. Say, like, take Brazil, for example. When we hired the first employee, guess what? You got to start from the ground up, right? Because you do not have a team, only yourself. And quite often, you are facing all kinds of challenges because those employees are self-motivated. They know how to, navigate through, our, headquarter, the culture and know the system or process, and still can get a job done. Otherwise, they might give up because, my God, there's so many things. Where the customer coming from, what's the marketing strategy, and how to work together with the partners, how to send the feedback to our headquarter team, to modify the product, how to localize, a lot of things. That's why self-motivation and self-learning are extremely important, for our employees, before we decide to hire employees. Yeah.
Eric, and apology, one follow-up on this, because we've been discussing this extensively. As everyone in Brazil and in the world move to the home office, I think we all see the benefits of having the Zoom for meetings. But one of the things that people debate a lot is the long term. And by the way, a lot of companies in Brazil are starting to announce that they're going to be forever home office. So they're not going to be offices. They're going to be using Zoom very often, which is good for your business. But one of the questions we get, I'd love to get your thoughts, is that if you already know the person, I know Julia pretty well, I know Enrico pretty well, we have a relationship, then Zoom is pretty effective. The video conference is pretty effective. But in order for you to build the relationship and even to create a culture to know how we operate, and that the distance and that the video conferencing solution is not comprehensive. You need to have people at least a portion of time together so they can learn. You can establish and define what are like the invisible rules. Would love to get your thoughts on this, because I think a lot of the companies and investors in Brazil are struggling on how do I match that when I bring someone new? Can they actually capture that through the video conference solution?
Yeah, you are right on. Even for us, we also we every quarter we hired so many the new employees, and for the new employees, I think you never see them, right? Only going through the video conference like Zoom to talk with them is not good enough, for sure. You are so right. And having cited that, that's why you look at the technology. I think technology not there yet, cannot completely replace, face-to-face and intimate experience, like we had it before. On the one hand, we should work on technology innovation. On the other hand, I think probably you still need to get it together, right? To meet with new friends, new employees, and also to work from home should work anywhere in the future, right? Not only in the home, not even in the office, on the way, in the car, anywhere with the internet, with the device. I think given that some time, and ideally maybe in 10 or 15 years, anywhere, you really do not need to get it together physically, but you still feel like you are in the same place. And before that, I think you got to figure out a way to get it together, right? To establish the relationship and to build the trust.
Eric, the question that I have, the platform that you guys have is very easy to scale and enter in new countries, new regions. But in the end of the day, you have to deal with different governments and also authorities. How do you see that? I think the company intends to release a new global policy by the end of the month. If you could comment on that, on these challenges to enter in new countries with different policies. How the company is seeing this issue here.
Yeah, that's great question. So, first of all, as I mentioned before, right, we started from North America. Business is relatively straightforward, easy to understand. And however, as we further expand, I think not only do we have a global 17 data centers, but how to understand, each country's, the data privacy and the local law is so hard. It's very complex. Especially for me as a CEO, my background more like engineering or product. I really do not understand that part well. That's why, we hired a team. We hired a lot of, the executives, like security researchers or government relationship, team, or the trust and safety team, and try to understand, right? Because almost every country, they have a different requirement. And this is not easy because this is something new. I do not think prior to this pandemic crisis, before this, nobody had a worldwide, video collaboration service that can support, so many users. This is something new, but that's why I like our company culture. We know actually this is something new. We know there will have some challenges, but we got to focus on that, learn that, and quickly have a solution. Plus, we are going to keep everything open and transparent. Like we are going to publish our, the transparency report, and to share with the world about our the policy, how to work with each country, and what's the business process, what's our business principle. But overall, by doing that, I think we also want to stick to our company value. The value is care, and we promote a free speech, and also really focus on the customer experience. But again, this is something new, and this is not that easy. It's pretty complex. Yeah.
So I guess that with your global expansion, I think you have a product team in China, you have teams in the US, you have teams now in Brazil, and Latin America. So I guess that to maintain the culture is really hard in a sense, because everyone is spread out and everyone comes from different backgrounds, right? So we got a question also on LinkedIn, but it's also a question that I had. So the question essentially asks, like, what percentage do you guys invest in both training the people and making sure that they are in line with the values and the culture that you mentioned? So I guess the question is like prioritizing, given that culture is so important, the focus on the client, etc. How much would, like, if you can disclose, of course, would you spend on making your employees become better?
Yes, great question. So in early days of Zoom, there's no any training, because we all help each other. We all train each other. There is a small team. You see, Julia, you have any questions? Oh, why do we need to spend time on training? I can help you out, right? I can help you. You can help others. That's how we, did that for the first several years. However, as you try to build a scalable business, especially you have employees for all over the world. Well, after you have more than 500 employees, to establish a process to enable employee learning, to have a training department, to have a lot of focus on the training, as it's becoming more and more critical. Otherwise, guess what? The employees' productivity, you cannot fully unleash the employees' productivity. Right? The training not only for technology training, but the culture training, like the process, sexual harassment training, and a lot of things, a lot of topic, right? We got to focus on, because quite often they may not understand. Like recently what's happening here, right? So one go through all the trainings to share with the team about what's going on in the society. I think the training is becoming more and more critical if you want to expand internationally, because quite often you have a culture difference, right? Without a training, for sure, you cannot, have a full speed. That's why we invest a lot. We are also going to double down on our training program as well.
My next question, Eric, is a little bit on the applications for Zoom. As we started seeing a lot of people going with the online and omnichannel. We spoke a lot about on the education side. Can you also talk a little bit about applications you are seeing on the e-commerce side? Of course, as you increase the omnichannel and also the online interactions, how do you see the video communication serving as a way for customer service more than only the day-to-day transactions, in particular where you start seeing a lot of the players, the COVID accelerated that, having to use online channels for customer service. So Brazil is one of the heavy users of WhatsApp. We are early users of all the technologies. How does your team see that and the potential impact on retail? This is a question from LinkedIn.
Yes, great question. So we partner with, take our technical support or customer service team, for example. Right? We are using a 5-9 technology. It's a great partner, and which is the cloud-based contact center solution. And then down the road, for sure, video will be added into that service. Essentially, we also, in our case, we also use Zoom, right, to talk with our customers. Our sales team uses Zoom to sell Zoom. Our support team also uses Zoom, talking with the customers. I know one thing for sure is based on our past, experience. Like, hey, if a customer call you, see, there's some issues. Sometimes they are pretty upset, and in a phone call they say, oh, you feel like they are sometimes so upset. But after you turn on the video, guess what? They really calm down, and suddenly things changed. And that's why I think a video is going to become mainstream for every customer interaction, right? You see the customer see you. It's easy or be much faster to build a trust. A lot of issues come from the things that you do not have a trust. Video can help you to build a trust. That's why those services like a customer interaction, the service department, more and more people are going to turn on the video to enable that.
Eric, as a follow-up, I mean, we're talking about education, distance learning. Thiago mentioned about the e-commerce, the retailers. Which other sectors do you see gaining exposure to the Zoom platform ahead? I mean, we hear about the health sector, about telemedicine. I mean, how do you see the platform growing in terms of new sectors ahead?
I think online education, that's probably the number one sector. Like a K-12 schools, high ed, even for like a language, learning. We have a customer where they have a lot of teachers here and students in Brazil, for the language learning, and also just the online learning. I think that is a huge market. And today, when school shut down, how can you empower teachers to teach online, but still can allow kids to learn, right? Those kind of new use cases, right? It's going to become more and more popular.
Eric, we're getting to the end of our Zoom session today, but before we finish, I'm getting, I'd say, tons of messages from entrepreneurs and founders here in Brazil. Very curious to know what will be your 2 or 3 thoughts for someone who is actually trying to build the future Zoom or a different segment in Brazil and in Latin America. If you could go back and give yourself a couple of advices, what would you tell, I think, the Brazilian entrepreneurs that are watching us today here?
I think, first of all, I want to say, Brazil is the big and has great culture, and also is growing very well. That's from that perspective, meaning there are a lot of opportunities for every entrepreneurs. I think as long as you have an idea, you have a dream, just do it. And don't focus on those naysayers. Don't always look at, oh, you cannot do this, cannot do that. Have a dream, just do it. That's number 1. So number 2 is always look at why you build this service. What you can do, what your business can do to serve others better. Really bring the value to the board. You cannot say, I have this dream, I have this hobby, I want to do that. But it may not be a business. Think about your business. Your business got to be a part of the entire ecosystem, can bring the value to others or to the society. Then your business will be sustainable. That's very, very critical, right? You have a dream and you think about your business can serve, can help others. That's the second thing. Third thing is, it's a little bit of maybe counterintuitive. And for the start of a company, you always want to move faster, right? I want to say, be patient. Right? To build the start of a company is many, many years. It's a long journey. I did not see any business can achieve the overnight success, right? And be patient, make a small progress every day. And someday you will get it there. Those 3 things. Yeah.
Very interesting, Eric. Unfortunately, we got to the end of our webinar. In the name of Itaú BBA, we would like to thank you a lot for your time, sharing your thoughts with us. I'm sure it was really good for everyone that's watching us, and I'm sure that you're also really busy. So thank you for fitting us in your schedule, and we hope to speak soon. And we use Zoom a lot, so this is great for us.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure. I love Brazil, love every entrepreneurs there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me over LinkedIn. And yeah, let's help each other. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.